Hello, welcome back to the Indian Ocean, and the next part of Let's Play Flotilla, Orbital Battleship Maneuvers. This is a sort of tactical, half turn-based, half real-time strategy game about manoeuvring fleets of spaceships. The last time things went pretty badly. I had a couple of videos, basically one video split into two, showing you the ropes and the mechanics, and then in the next video our adventure came to an untimely end, thanks to some bad decisions and some unfortunate rolling. Things are going to speed up a bit now, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time explaining little mechanics, like I'm not going to point out when I'm rolling my ship to face the strong side towards the enemy and that sort of thing. You've seen it done before, you can see it happening now, you don't need me to point it out every time. So, we're just going to press on with a whole new adventure and hopefully do a little better. Again, I'm recording post-commentary here, but it's been a few days since I actually did this, and I've played Flotilla a few times since then, so a lot of it escapes me, so it's going to be half a new experience for me. Half blind, so to speak. This time we're the Valiant Captain, sign of T. Again, skip the tutorial. And I went for Akiaka, just because the name amused me, I think. Distress call from some pigs. They've got pirate trouble. So do we help them out, or do we rob them? There's a bit of a delay here when I had to pop away to adjust my central heating. But I decided to help them in the end. It was very, very tempting to rob them, but I decided to fight off the pirates that beset them. So we have, as usual, our standard issue 2 destroyers, because it's the beginning of the game, and we're up against another destroyer and a torpedo gunship. I think this is the first time we've seen a torpedo gunship in this Let's Play. I could be wrong, but I think it is. And torpedo gunships are slow moving but have very long range. You can see we're much, much higher up than the enemy ships. So I had to have a bit of a think about the strategy here. And I went for a flank move, which means I'll move faster and further but not be able to shoot while doing it. And I headed over here sort of in the direction of the torpedo gunship. And if you watched the last few videos, you'll know that I have a tendency to, when I have two ships, to split them and send one up and one down, so that whichever way the enemy rolls, I'll have a ship on the appropriate side of them. So I dabbled with taking this ship into a dive here, but then changed my mind because I moved as far down as I possibly could, and I was only just about on the same level as the enemy ships. So I decided instead to just close ground on the torpedo gunship, because that can't move very far or very fast anyway. So I thought I'd just close with it. Drop down towards it a bit on the assumption that it would probably climb up towards me, and that would then put me in a better position, much closer to it, to be able to manoeuvre around it and take advantage of its slow movement. I took the other ship over here towards this destroyer and up very, 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 very high. I think my intention there, as I recall, was to try and distract that destroyer, to keep it from interfering with my other ship's attack on the torpedo gunship, and hopefully bait it into moving all the way up here after this ship. Now we see the first turn unfold, and as you might expect from the enemy ships being so much lower than us, they start climbing towards our fleet. But again, the torpedo gunship can't climb very fast, particularly since it's actually firing at the moment, so it's not using flank move. So it's not moving as fast as it can. And our lower ship there gains on it very quickly. So now we're probably in a position to manoeuvre around behind the torpedo gunship. Again, I don't remember everything that I was thinking, so it'll be an interesting experience, seeing what I decided to do. Sometimes I make erratic decisions. Okay, so I did, in fact, decide to try and move around behind the torpedo gunship to shoot it in the engines. In fact, I dropped down behind it, sort of half underneath, in the hope that it would continue rising towards my current position and not change its orientation or anything and leave its belly exposed. I thought if I can hop down underneath it quickly and somewhat behind it, I can either hit it on the belly, the exposed belly, or at least on the rear, both of which are vulnerable spots, you'll probably remember. Now, what did I do with the other ship here? Looks like I'm actually taking that over towards the torpedo gunship as well. Or not? No, I'm heading for that clump of asteroids. Presumably, they're much lower down than my ship is. Yeah. I'm just kind of... I seem to be just trying to keep this ship somewhat to the rear of the enemy ships, but I'm not really dropping it down or anything. So it looks like I decided to keep it as kind of a floater. Keep it hanging around and see what needs to be done, depending on how this attack on the torpedo ship goes. The torpedo ship did start to roll, but we landed a few lucky hits on it as it did so. So it predicted that we'd try to go underneath it. The AI in this is surprisingly cunning at times. But between our two ships both firing at it, we scored several hits. And I think we managed to land some hits on the engines there as well. So that played out pretty well. I'm happy with that decision. That tactical play there. The enemy ships have almost reached the height of this upper destroyer here. Interesting choice of move on my part here. Because... I was about to say you don't want to go between the enemy ships. Because so much of Flotilla is making sure you can keep your well-protected sides towards the enemy, you don't want to get between the enemy. You know, sometimes they will manoeuvre to flank you for that purpose, but it would be just idiocy to deliberately put yourself between them. So instead I've gone off to one side of both of them here. So that should keep me safe. I'm not climbing or descending, which is an interesting choice. At this point, I'm not sure what the enemy ships are going to do next, whether they're going to continue climbing or not. I would guess the torpedo gunship has to either continue climbing and maintain its current orientation, or drop back down and roll back over again. Either way, it's vulnerable to one of my ships, so it's actually left itself in a pretty bad position here. Taking the lower destroyer over that way. What am I trying to do there? Okay, I'm taking it... I'm basically taking it right up behind the torpedo gunship, so that whichever way it rolls, I should be able to get good hits on its engines. I mean, it can change its yaw. It can rotate left or right so that its engines aren't facing my ship. But again, it's not as manoeuvrable as a destroyer. So I think I'm trying to take advantage of that here and try to get behind its engines. Both the enemy ships have rolled over so that their vulnerable sides are uppermost. Not really landing any hits here. No, that looks in the clear. But because my destroyer there climbed sharply and the enemy gunship dropped sharply, it's been left with its vulnerable side facing towards both of my destroyers. So this is a good opportunity to take it down. So I go for focus fire here, which means very limited range of movement, but I fire as rapidly as I can, basically. So I'm dropping my ship down a bit, just to get closer and hopefully get a better shot. You don't aim your shots yourself, but of course the closer you are, the easier it is for your gunners to do their job. So I drop down a bit, but focus on firing as many shots as possible at the almost destroyed torpedo gunship before it rolls back over again. Same thing with this ship, actually. Don't move very far and just focus on firing off as many shots as possible to try and take out this torpedo gunship before it rolls. Oh, actually, I changed that. backed out of my focus fire order and went instead for attack move. And I decided to plunge down, which is the other option really, plunge down underneath the torpedo gunship just in case it does roll over. Because it'll either, if it does roll, it'll have to roll obviously either to left or right before it can flip completely 180. And if it rolls one way, it'll be exposed to one of my ships, and the other way it'll be exposed to the other. So, good play by me there, if I must say so myself. Not great shooting from my gunners there, but at least I'm not taking any damage. Do I manage to land hits? Yes, take out the torpedo gunship. That brings it down to just my 2 destroyers against 1 enemy destroyer. I was about to say this should be... Oh! And I managed to score a lucky few hits on it there as it rises. Oh, very bad play by the enemy destroyer there. Rising up, but not rolling at the same time, leaving itself exposed to fire from my ship. So that's 1 more battle down. I'm going to try and keep these videos as short as possible, so rejoin me the next time for the next battle in this adventure in Flotilla.